All right. Last time we talked about how confidence intervals were changing from how we were used to. Now we're going to talk about how significance testing has changed. All right. So, if you forget, here are the main steps of a significance test again. All right. This is where you have to go through the hypotheses. You have to state what HO and HA is. You have to find the sampling distribution. We'll talk about what that is. You still have to find the standard score. Remember, that's your z-score. And then you still have to use that to find a p-value, except this time you don't have to use a chart, so that got easier. And then lastly, you have to make a conclusion about HOHA, which hypothesis was supported. All right, so the only steps that change from the significance test that we already know is steps 2 and 3, the sampling distribution and finding the standard score / p-value. So there's a formula for the sampling distribution, and then the standard score formula is still going to be exactly the same, except we don't have p hat or p now, so it's a little different. So here is the sampling distribution formula. S over radical n, which just stands for standard deviation of the sample, and of course n is the sample. So that's pretty easy. Last time you had to go through a whole standard deviation formula and the significance test for part 2. Now you just have to do this. You're already going to be given the standard deviation. Standard score formula doesn't change. You're still observation minus mean over the standard deviation. But now instead of like p hat minus p, x bar is whatever x bar is, that's your observation number. Remember x bar from the confidence intervals that we learned in the last video. Your mean is still whatever HO is. And then standard deviation is, of course, S from the sampling distribution. One quick little note here, and this is important. The last time we did significance testing, for the alternative hypothesis for HA, we either used the greater than symbol or the less than symbol, okay? Now we're also going to see the does not equal symbol, okay? So there's 3 different symbols that we could see for HA depending on the prompt, all right? And that's really the biggest change made in this type of significance testing. So in order to calculate p-value, we're going to be using the same website that we used for chi-square testing, except it's a little bit different. It's just a different section of the website, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So here is the first example we're going to work with significance testing. I'm not going to talk much more about the mechanics because we've already went over significance testing. When we were in school, we've already taken notes on that, so I'm just going to hop right into an example. So let's just say that there's a National Health Organization that reports that the mean blood pressure for males is 128. Let's say that there's a medical director of a company who's looking at executives, male executives of companies, and he wants to compare blood pressures from these executives to normal males. So the national organization says a normal male will have a blood pressure of 128. The medical director of the company looks at records for 72 executives, and he finds that their average blood pressure is 126.1, with a standard deviation of 15.2. Is this evidence that executives have a normal blood pressure or a different blood pressure when compared to normal? So we have to take all the information we were just given and find our hypotheses, all right? So HO is always the baseline. It is always the initial claim, remember? So the National Health Statistic Organization up here says that the normal blood pressure for men is 128. So that would be our HO, all right? Looks like I ran out of time, so we'll just go through actually filling in the problem in the next video.